Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink. It is time for some Path of Exile discussion. Welcome to day 11 of teaser season for patch 3.22 and for the Trials of the Ancestors expansion. Today is a reasonably quiet day with one piece of news that is not item related and also one item that we'll quickly discuss. Firstly, let's get through something that is going to apply to 9.1% of my viewers. According to YouTube Analytics, 9.1% of you are in Germany, and for those of you, there is going to be a Grinding Gear Games organised fan meetup at Cologne for Gamescom 2023. So if you're anywhere near Cologne and you're interested in finding out more about that, link down in the description below. For the other 90.9% of you though, there is going to be a very powerful Minion unique added to the game in patch 3.22, and this one's quite exciting. Now, fair warning, I expect this item to be rare. I don't know whether it's going to be Relic of the Pack level rarity. I don't know whether it's going to be Mahoxidal's Machination level rarity. I don't know whether it's going to be Hateforge level rarity. But I certainly do not expect this to be the next Wasp Nest or Chevron's Pace, the sort of item that is very easy to get your hands on. I think this is going to be a hard item to find and a hard item to trade for. What does Marta's teaching do for you? There's a couple of key things. Firstly, it is an adequate minion buffing scepter. Now, one thing that you need to keep in mind is that you cannot simultaneously use a scepter and a wand, and most of the other items that provide boosts to minions are actually not on scepters. They are on wands. They're convoking wands. So that's a genuinely serious drawback to this. You could conceivably dual wield Marta's teaching, but I don't think many people will do that. I do think there is a better choice available. Marta's teaching is going to provide you with some probably not very useful elemental damage on its implicit. Then it's going to provide you with some local critical strike chance. Normally this would be rubbish, but there's a special mod that makes it all worthwhile. +2 to the level of all minion skill gems, which is phenomenal. This is already on par with a 4 to 6 divine convoking wand at this point. And then we have the key mod on it. Minion base attack critical strike chance is equal to the critical strike chance of your main hand weapon. So I want to quickly start with a little bit of a trap that you can fall into. You can try to optimize this too much, I believe. You can try to get razor focused on increasing the minion base attack critical strike chance as much as possible, but at the expense of making unacceptable sacrifices on the rest of your character. Let's just firstly start with the one of those that doesn't work at all, and that is Actum. Actum is a weapon that I've seen a few people think of as a combo with Marta's teaching. It is actually a non-bow. Actum's base critical strike chance is 5%, despite the text that it's got on it that says that its critical strike chance for attacks made with this weapon is unusually high. So Actum is a complete non-bow. Also, it would be quite difficult to equip Actum in conjunction with Marta's teaching due to Actum setting your intelligence to 0 and Marta's teaching being unusable on a character with 95 or lower intelligence. So let's just get Actum out of the way. It is a non-bow, it doesn't work at all. The second thing that can get incredibly high local attack critical strike chance is Augire. I think that this is again too much investment. Marta's teaching is already giving you a lot of critical strike chance. Yes, you can get more if you use Augire, especially if you go all in on it. You grant your Augire the Harvest enchantment that causes quality on the item to not provide physical damage, but to instead provide increased local critical strike chance. And then you have the Val implicit that gives it even more local critical strike chance. If you do all of this, you can get Augire to have a really staggeringly high local critical strike chance. You can push 14% with this item, but ultimately, I don't think it's worth it. You're getting basically nothing else out of your entire main hand weapon slot, and I think you can do better than that just by, for instance, using a second Marta's teaching just to get 2 more levels to minion skill gems. That would be an option. But what I really prefer is using it in conjunction with a rare shield that provides big boosts to minions. Now, we'll start by having a look at a real item that exists for trade in Standard League. This is at the expensive end of the spectrum. This is definitely not something you can get your hands on cheaply at all. But Broodguard is a good example of what a fantastic offhand would look like in conjunction with Marta's teaching. So your Marta's teaching with the Harvest enchant will have an 8.94% critical strike chance, assuming you've got a 42% explicit roll. It could be higher if you're willing to corruption hunt this item and get the Val implicit that increases local critical strike chance even more, but that's going to be very expensive because I do think this could be a chase item. And then Broodguard is going to provide you with a tremendous 103% increased critical strike chance to your minions, which is then going to be a multiplier to that tremendously high base critical strike chance you've got. But on top of that, Broodguard has a lot more going for it as well. A total of 111% increased minion damage, a bunch of life, and +1 to the level of minion skill gems and some curse effect. Now most players are not going to craft something quite as good as Broodguard. This item is expensive for a reason, but you could definitely get something like this but with a couple of little compromises. So maybe instead of having 10% increase effect of your curses, maybe you have a bad mod in place of that. Maybe you don't have a high tier life, essence tier life, maybe you've got something that's a dumpster tier life instead. But ultimately, you can definitely get the core of this. You can get a high tier minion percent damage, you can get +1 to minion skill gems, and you can get a high tier minion critical strike chance, probably without the rest of the good mods on this, a lot cheaper than this item. And that's something that's going to be absolutely ideal in conjunction with Marta's teaching. One other thing that I think could be interesting to explore, and I don't think this is quite going to get there, I don't think this is going to be a powerful use of Marta's teaching, but it is something that's at least worth messing around with. Arakali's Fang is an interesting minion item that generates a unique minion skill where the minions have a 5% base critical strike chance with their attacks. And with Marta's teaching, you can get this into the 9 to 10% range, which could empower a different way of building Arakali's Fang. I think most people will stick to the tried and tested methods of Arakali's Fang, either using it alongside the Squire for massive damage, or using it alongside Aegis Aurora as a very defensive build that deals adequate damage without being extraordinary, but there are definitely some other options available now that Marta's teaching exists. Anyways, that's Marta's teaching. That is a really exciting new item that's coming to the game in 3.22. Please don't rely upon getting this on your build. I do think this could well be a chase item this league, unless grinding gear games have made it unusually common, in which case bonus. If you're looking for an early Atlas strategy, you can't go wrong with Expedition, and I'll put a link in the bottom left corner of the screen now to a guide that I put out to using ROG to generate a lot of currency at league start 2 leagues ago. Now, while a lot of things do change in Path of Exile, this hasn't really been one of them. ROG is still going to be a fountain for powerful items, both items that are for meta builds, which will sell for a lot, and also items for off-meta builds, which will also be something that you can move. That's all I've got for today. May your Varlorbs have interesting results. And don't forget to harvest enchant your Marta's teaching before you Varl it, because otherwise you won't get another chance.